Today we're going to make this gorgeous Celtic Twist quilt block. This is a 12-inch block. To get started, we're going to just need some background fabric. So we're going to need 4 pieces that are 3.5 by 6.5. Then we'll need a 3.5-inch square, and we will need 4 squares that are 2 inches. This is all of the background fabric. And then you're going to choose 4 colors for the different twists here. So I'm just going with different shades of blue. These are not the same as my sample here, but so you'll need 4 strips that are 2 by 5 inches long, and you'll do 1 of each color. So 4 strips of 2 by 5. Then we'll need 4 strips of 2 by 3.5. And then lastly, we'll need 3 squares of each color. These are 2-inch squares. So that's what we'll need to make the block. Okay, so we're going to start by making this center block right here. So just this center with the surrounding rectangles. So we will grab our 3.5-inch background piece as well as our 2 by 5 rectangles of the different fabric colors. So we're going to arrange it just surrounding the square here. And you can see that I kind of have the pieces overlapping, and it doesn't, this is just kind of to show us what we're doing. We're going to be taking this top piece and we're going to line it up right sides together with the center square. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sew along the top, but we are not going to sew all the way to the edge. So it's easier to turn it this way to sew. We will start on this end and we will sew, and we will leave about 1/2 inch that is not sewn right here. Okay, so here's my block here, and you can see I've sewn from this end and I have left this part unsewn. And I just did just a back stitch right there real quick, just so it doesn't unravel as we go. But next we will press this open. All right, and then we will just work our way around with these next 2 pieces. I will just take this next piece, I will flip it over, and I'm going to sew along here. Okay, so then we have this done, and we will just press this open. And I've moved my mat over here just for ease. We can get that pressed real quickly. So then we'll just take our next piece, we'll bring it up right sides together and sew along there. All right, there we have our piece, and we will just press this open. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we just need to add this last piece. And to do that, I'm just going to take this piece and kind of hold it up out of the way. And then we'll place our piece right sides together again. And then we will just sew along this seam right here, making sure that we don't catch this top strip as we sew. Okay, so here we have our piece. We will just press this open as well. Just try to keep that piece kind of out of the way as we press that. And then lastly, we're just going to take this piece, we'll fold it back down, and then we will just complete this seam to the end. All right, so we've just finished that seam, and so then we have our block. We will just press that open so it's nice and flat, just like that. Okay, so next we're going to lay out our block, and I'm just going to use my mat here because it will be easy if I can turn it as we're laying things out. So we will take our big rectangles here and place them on each side. They don't have to be lined up perfectly, but this is just to give us an idea of what we're doing here. And my mat's not quite big enough to hold all of the pieces, but it will work. So we're going to take, I'm just going to maybe scrunch those up just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to be looking at this bottom horizontal piece of fabric, and we're going to grab the rest of our pieces that match that fabric. So we have our squares and we have our rectangle. So with the squares, we're going to place one on either side along the bottom, on the inner side of this side rectangles. Then we will place this rectangle on the left side, just right underneath this square. And then on the right side, we will place our other square. We're going to leave a gap here, and this will be lined up with the bottom edge of the thing. Okay, so this is where it's nice to have nice to have something that you can rotate. So then we can just move, and we can use this piece right here as our bottom square, and we'll grab our pieces of fabric for that. We will place one on either side. We will place our remaining square on the right, on the bottom part, and then our rectangle will go on the left. Then we will just flip again. Then this one will be our bottom square, so we will grab all of those fabrics. We'll place the squares to the side and the right bottom, and then the rectangle will be on the left. And then one more time we will flip it. This fabric right here will be the one we're working with, and again we'll just place them in the same position, just like that. Now the last thing we'll do is we'll take our remaining 2-inch background pieces, and they will go in each corner of our block, just like this. Okay, so I'll turn it this way again, just so it fits better into the camera. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to start with our rectangles. Now, we want these to be triangles, not squares. So in order to do that, I'll just move this right here. We're going to flip our fabric right sides together, keeping them in the same sides that they were on. Then we're going to sew corner from corner, corner to corner, from here to here, and from here to here. All right, so I have got the pieces sewn. So this is what they will look like. You always just want to double check, make sure you got the seam in the correct direction, but that's what it's supposed to be. So next we will just trim a quarter of an inch away from that seam, and we'll pull off that little triangle right there. So we'll just do that on both sides. And then we will press open the pieces. So this is going to be a little tricky since I'm using it for my design board, but I'll make it work. Okay, so then we will just repeat that process with the other rectangles. All right, so we have all of our side pieces made now. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on our corner squares here. So we will just take the 2 squares, we'll fold them right sides together, and we will sew along the top. All right, so we have our pieces sewn together here. We will just press them open. I like to press away from the background where this background is kind of white, just not show through as much. So then the next step is we'll just simply take this piece and we will sew it to the rectangle along this side right here. All right, so then we have our square here, and we will just take our iron and we will just press that flat, and then we will repeat that process with all 4 corners. Okay, so we have our block ready to assemble. So you can see we've got 9 separate pieces here. So we're just going to sew it together like a 9 patch. So we'll just take and sew each row together, and then we'll sew the rows to each other. So I'll just take each piece and I will sew along here, And then I'll take this side and I will sew along here. All right, and then we will just take our middle section, do the same thing, just flip the side pieces over so the right sides together, and then just sew along both sides. And then repeat the same thing with the bottom row. Okay, so now a little tip to get your blocks to line up nicely is to nest your seams. So to do this, we're going to take our top and our bottom pieces and we're going to press them. We're going to press the blocks away from the centerpiece. So you'll see on the back, they're pressed away from the center. Okay, so we'll do that on both sides. Now for the center block, we're going to press towards the center. And so then that will leave us with a seam going towards the middle. Okay, so let's get our pieces lined up here. Just like this. Now when we go to sew these together, we'll flip it just like this, and then when we line them up, we can line them up with those seams. The one seam will be facing the right, the other seam will be facing the left, and they'll just butt up against each other, and then you will have a perfect point right there when you sew them. So we'll just go ahead and sew along right here, and then we'll repeat the same process and sew along right here, and then our block will be complete. All right, so we will just give our block one last nice little press to get it all nice and flat, and then we're done. So you can see the block is not hard, but it is a little bit, you got to pay attention because there's a lot of little pieces and you got to get them in the right places. But if you just have a design board or just a piece of cardboard or something that you can just lay things out with and keep them laid out as you're going, then you can make this little quilt block. So you can I just really love the little twisty, overlapping look of the different colors, and it's not very hard, so you can do it.